I remember this was on a comment response stream we did months ago where we went back and forth. I kept asking chat. They said it's patched out. They patched it back in. They patched it out. They patched it back in again. It was like...
I need to make a video on that sometime. They fixed it, but added ghost cheese as an accidental side effect.
Ghost cheese?
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Howdy. Let me tell you about how to use Snowgrave on normal enemies, and how Toby's attempts to remove this accidentally led to the creation of ghost cheese. Obviously, this video is going to involve a lot of discussion of the weird route, also known as the Snowgrave route. So, if you haven't played or seen a full run of said route, please check it out before I spoil everything. Here, I'll give you time to pause and go do that. Okay, that's enough time. Now then, can we all just take a moment to appreciate how masterful Toby was at recreating the creepypasta aesthetic? Like, think about it. Super obscure trigger that none of the players noticed on their first playthrough? Check. Extra spooky spell that turns the user into an empty-eyed shell of their former selves? Check. The only way to kill a character in an otherwise low-violence, child-friendly game? Super check. Of course, we've all seen surprise horror games that bait the user into playing a creepypasta, but I've never seen a game make it an optional hidden route, just quietly tucked away behind the main game, and it really adds to the experience. Seeing Noelle do that slow, unsettling, zombie walk into the background sent shivers down my spine. And by having her leave the party, it makes the spell even more unsettling, since familiarity fosters comfort and would strip away that uncanny quality. But this makes me wonder, if Noelle joins the party in future chapters, will that spell be gone? What would it look like if we could cast Snowgrave on every minor enemy that stands in our way? It's too bad Noelle loses the spell after the fight. Wait a second, what? She still has the spell, and I still have the ring. So now the question becomes, if we find an enemy, can she cast it? Well, proceed all you like, because though we keep Noelle for quite a bit longer, she misses every single fight from this point forward, including Spampton, the ambulances, and even this mouse in one of the most blatant and transparent handwaves I've ever seen. It almost feels like Toby is challenging us, and unfortunately for him, he greatly underestimated our ingenuity. Because, while it's true that the enemies we've killed may be gone, the rest of the world has reset right back to how it was before we started the evil route, including all of the puzzles, which means all we have to do is spare Birdly and... Wait, where'd my spell go? Okay, if you literally spare Birdly, or cancel the route before the fight starts, you won't get to keep your Snowgrave, but if you use Ice Shock to end the fight, the route will still cancel, but you'll get to keep all your spells and items. So keep doing what we've practiced, Ice Shock everything, but just like we did at the start of the route, we're going to backtrack the moment we see a save point. Give the cheese maze a little poke, and congratulations, we've summoned a mouse, and we still have the spell. But will it actually work? Or will the only thing that freezes here be our game? Oh, it works all right, but not as you'd imagine. Instead of freezing, the mice vaporize into a mist of blood, and there's a unique sound effect for it. Surely, this must be intentional? Well, yes and no. I do think this behavior when Snowgrave is used on a minor enemy is intentional, because the spell says fatal, and this is the animation that is meant to play whenever an enemy takes a fatal amount of damage, something data miners have known ever since Chapter 1 first dropped in the very first version of Survey Program. But Toby clearly didn't intend for us to see this yet, because he patched it out, or at least, he clearly plans to. The current version you download from the Deltarune website, Deltarune version 10, still allows the player to do this, but if you're playing on the Steam version, set it to the new beta, and try out patch 1.2.112. In that version, he's patched it out. Not by removing the spell, though. He patched it out by removing the cheese. This is very interesting, because, to me at least, this sort of implies that Noelle is meant to keep Snowgrave if you continue to choose violence. And that actually makes sense, in a weird sort of way, because most of the things that would cancel the word route are related to showing Noelle mercy, or showing her that she doesn't need to fight. By continuing to force her to fight every enemy we see, we haven't snapped her out of that state yet, so she's still primed to solve problems by attacking them. It's sort of too bad though, because while I know it would ruin the immersion of the story, I'd love it if he left just one little block of cheese, so savvy runners could still see this glorious animation. But alas, come as I might, it seems like he really did remove all of the cheese. Wait, what? What the hell is this? Some special invisible cheese with no sprite? Was this always here? No. No, I went back to check, and in every version I've tried, this block disappears during the weird route. But I'm clearly bumping into something right now. So what is this? Some sort of phantom cheese? Is there a man here? Is it Kara's ghost here to judge me for failing at the last second? What are you? Opening up the code, we can see that it's probably fine. Ahem. Opening up the code, we can see that most of the overworld events on this Snowgrave route are being controlled by something called the Weird Route Manipulator. Hence why some people refer to the Snowgrave route as the Weird Route, since that appears to be what Toby calls it internally. Normally the way this works is, if you're on the Weird Route, said manipulator switches off the cheese, the cars, and all the other things that make the world fun, and switches on a bunch of enemies for you to fight. But the moment you cancel the route, it sets a new flag to indicate that the route had been cancelled, and as a result, everything in the overworld switches back to normal. In the 1.2.112 patch, he added a few extra lines to specifically check to see if you've made it to the Birdly fight and failed the route, in which case, it destroys all the cheese in the cheese maze again. But if all the cheese is gone, then what the heck is this? Is this cheese, not cheese? Alright, let's see here. Opening up the data for the room itself, I can confirm that this cheese is, in fact, cheese. But there's also an invisible block placed over the cheese, which allows us to stop and contemplate our sins once the cheese is destroyed. And since this solid block here is not cheese, it's not destroyed by this line. It must get destroyed somewhere else in the Weird Route Manipulator. Or, wait. No, it doesn't. I checked all over the Weird Route Manipulator code, and at no point does it ever move or destroy this block. But something has to be destroying it somewhere, because it isn't there before the Birdly fight. So where is it? Is it this line from the cheese maze proper? Here, let me delete it and run it again. Nope. What about this one? Nope. I searched all the Weird Route scripts, the cheese scripts, the solid block scripts, and nothing. I couldn't figure it out. And so, there I sat, staring at the data for the room itself, desperately trying to find something, anything, that I might have missed. Whispering to the screen. What are you? Oh wait, what's this part here? Creation code? Dark World City Cheese Maze Create. Oh, yeah, I was wondering what all these seemingly empty chunks of code were for. Have I mentioned that I'm not a coder? Like, at all? I am literally always just scientific methoding my way to victory. So, I tried playing around, and, yep, this is what deletes that block. However, what you'll notice here is it deletes the block only when you are currently on the Weird Route, not when you have failed it. This wasn't an issue in the previous versions, because with the cheese object back, this just appeared to be the collision for this very real block of cheese, but the patch exposes the truth. This cheese was never truly solid to begin with. Toby just put a wall here. So, instead of forcing this innocent block to sit here, all alone in the dark, with no cheese to keep it company, I have elected to remedy this by copying Toby's previous line, which double checks if the Weird Route was cancelled at the Birdly fight, and delete the object if that is the case. Finally, the ghost cheese can move on. They're free. Haha. This took me 4 hours.